Afternoon all, how are you all doing? Sorry, just for some reason on YouTube the stream isn't working. Oh no, it is working. Weird. Wasn't working a minute ago. It is working now. That's okay. I'm back. I'm here. Don't panic. Well, can panic if you want. But how are we all doing? Afternoon, Crom, Peter, JC, Monkey. Afternoon, my fellow millionaires. AZ, how we doing? Baggy, Virginia, Amy, Day Trader, Brian with his 8-ball. Been reading Telegram probably. Oh yes, you posted an 8-ball in Telegram. Afternoon, John, Gregors, Astro. Hello, future millionaires. Who wants a Lambo when you can do 20 miles an hour only? That's true. Do you live in Wales, Peter, by any chance? Just reduce the speed limit in Wales to 20 miles an hour. As if. Anyway. Right. Let's have a look at where we are. Afternoon, Lax, Fletch. Philip Prince. Ciao. Hi, Peter. Yes. Okay. I've said hello to everybody now. I can shut up. Right. New Zealand dollar. CAD. ADI break. What? Let's go to these lines. So New Zealand dollar CAD is an ADR today. It's the only one we've had so far. 5-minute reversal has just kicked in at ADR high on that. If you wanted to take that one short. Pen. So yeah, nice looking potential short on the New Zealand dollar CAD. The CAD's had a decent bit of weakness today. So we've just popped our head out above that high and we look like we're closing back down below. So could be a decent short. News this afternoon, we've got consumer confidence at 3 o'clock, half an hour after market open. Doesn't tend to do a lot, can have a spike though. News this morning, we had that bit of news from Japan saying they were worried about FX movements as usual. Market seems to have reacted. So I've taken a short. We did get the reverse alert this morning. Only just got it. But yeah, it is looking like a little bit of yen strength coming through across the board. Not masses though. So I don't think this is the market potentially reacting to it, but we'll see. See what happens over the next couple of days. Other than that news this morning, not a lot really. If you look through, there's nothing. Just seeing if there's any other yen news, but there isn't. So yeah, nothing much exciting. Crypto going wrong again, which is crypto. So yeah, that's all we've got on ADRs. Just that one New Zealand dollar CAD, which is just giving you the reverse alert. So it's just about ripe to go in. Resistance wise, it's not amazing as a level. The best level at the moment is kind of between 125 to 150 ADR or 150 ADR. So we've got that propulsion gap, which we didn't quite get to and dropped from. So those two levels there are probably a decent area for resistance. So if it doesn't work, this first reversal, second entry up there would be good. You've got loads of resistance coming up to the upside on this one. It's not really moving much. So it doesn't really matter when you get in. If it carries on doing what it's doing at the moment, there's easy outs on it. So nice short opportunity, New Zealand CAD. RSIs, everything we looked at this morning on the RSIs, a lot of it has started to play out. The hourlies, there wasn't many, and the 4 hours, we looked at them all, but we'll have a look at all those again. DAX this morning, very, very quick, easy ORB today. 15-minute pre-market range, took the short straight down to TP and stopped out on the second half of it with a trailing stop. Got down to 3R, pushed up, and we've not really gone anywhere again today. So it is a down day. We've got a gap fill to the upside now. We've got multiple gap fills to the upside to fill on the DAX. US indices, not really gone anywhere today so far. So yeah, just kind of sideways Little bit of movement on the DAX open and dropping back down to pre-market lows excuse me, on most of these now. So we'll have a look at where we're going on those. Market's just opened. So fairly decent ranges pre-market to trade. So there's your 15-minute opening ranges. So we'll see where we go. Let's have a quick look at potential movement on these today. So the Dow, we are now out of this low. We've broken below the previous monthly low. We've broken below last week's low yesterday. So today's low potentially is yesterday's low, which is exactly what we tapped into pretty much yesterday. So if we break down below this area here, obviously there's a flush available. Yeah, got to go out a fair old way to find support. Going back down to just over ADR today is that double bottom monthly. So ADR short on the Dow. Upside obviously would be looking at yesterday's levels. So you've got yesterday's high, the previous day's high, ADR, so somewhere up to there. The S&P, yesterday's low is target to the downside. This is a big support area. So when we broke down below that low yesterday, we put these support areas in, that one there, the low of that, and the high of that. So this accumulation, which was a week, we tapped into that, bounced out of it beautifully. So if we tap that again, there's a good chance we might double bottom that. Failing that, we've got 150 ADR down. So loads of downside on the S&P. NASDAQ, monthly low, which is just about ADR today. So all the downsides fairly close today. NASDAQ short. The Dow totally stuck at the moment. Can't really get anywhere. Fair bit of volatility coming in. It's jumping around a lot, but just an awful lot of volume coming through, but nothing directional. S&P looks like it's just about to try and trigger a short. Struggling. A lot of volatility, a lot of volume flicking about a lot, but not a huge amount. So pre-market 15 on the NASDAQ today. So if you took the pre-market 15 with the ORB, you'll be in that range there. So you're looking at pretty much 1 hour to the downside, but not really getting much follow through on that at the moment. Dow looks like it's just triggered a long. Long on the Dow, short on the NASDAQ, not in the S&P. DAX is rallying. Bit lackluster. Maybe we are waiting for the news. Might be waiting for that consumer confidence news to come in. We'll wait and see what happens after the 5-minute open. Other than the ADR today, there's been very little movement across lots of other stuff. Right. So yeah, I mean, everything else, if you look through, whiz through, Aussie kind of flip-flopped around. The Swiss franc, we had a bit of a flip-flop around. The yen, we had a bit of a movement, but stopped. So everything's kind of started to push. The Canadian dollar's dropped. The yen is a little bit stronger than it was, but nothing particularly substantial. There's a perfect example. The Swiss is strong. The yen is strong. That's why you get sideways movement. Swiss and yen both strong, totally sideways. So not a lot of movement really across anything. The Aussie, the Euros had a good morning, rallied up, but no ADRs yet. So bear in mind, we're in contracted ADRs still at the moment. So I would expect if we're going to get some normal movement, price action movement, you'll see the ADR dashboards light up. As it stands, we're pretty much within normal range at the moment. So not a massive amount of movement anywhere today. All the news is starting to kick off tomorrow. So pound pretty much sideways today, as you can see again. New Zealand's had a little bit of a rally, but not a lot. And the US dollar's pushed a little bit further, but nothing much. So all a bit crap today. The oil move started to the downside. We tapped into the lows and bounced straight back up to where we were. So again, probably waiting for oil inventories to come out at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, and then we get some movement off of those. So it seems to me at the minute like the market's a little bit reticent to move. We're waiting for that CPI figure to come through on the Aussie, and then for the Euro CPIs to come through on Thursday. We might get some movement then, starting to undo some moves, but very, very crap day today. Not a lot of movement at all. So nothing much to report. We'll look for the RSIs in a sec. So Dow is a long. S&P is just about triggered along. Still short on the NASDAQ. Mixed bag today so far. So opening range break. Your 5-minute ORB is there. So if you've taken the 5-minute opening range break, you're long on the Dow. You are also long on the S&P. So there's your 5-minute ORB. Triggered long. So upside, literally all upside risks today are pre-market highs and yesterday's high, because we put a down day in yesterday. So we're looking for those sorts of highs, plenty of room on all the indices to the upside, as you can see. So we'll see where we go. But so far, not a lot. Not a lot at all. Andrew, short on the CAD yen and US dollar yen. Yeah, I'm short on. I've taken a short on the US dollar yen today. The CAD yen gave a reversal alert this morning on the hourly and a retest. So very nice move on that one this morning. Not quite extended for an H1M5 entry. The US dollar yen, the same. I've taken a short on this one this morning just because I want to get some yen exposure on. So this morning, if you weren't in the live room this morning, I plotted out what we normally get from a yen intervention move. So a typical yen intervention move is somewhere around about 500 pips, somewhere in the region of, depending on what the ADR is at the time, but 528 ADR. So if that yen intervention that they threatened this morning, again, does come to fruition, we will get a large move very, very quick. So within 15 minutes to an hour, you'll put in 4 or 5 ADR to the downside. That's the only reason I've taken that as a speculative short there. It's not, it is extended, so it's a decent reason to get in because we're likely to pull back on this a little bit. And I've got 2 additional orders placed to jump in as well. So when we break yesterday's low, and then when we break the low of last week, I will add with a view to getting out on all 3 of them down there with a nice profit. So the other option we've got is obviously the scaling. So 150 is the level that the previous intervention was in October last year. We're coming up to October again, obviously. So, sorry, September, I think it was. September, October, one or the other. But it was 150. So 145 and 150 are the 2 levels that we've had intervention at previously. So I will scale in up to there if necessary. And then, I mean, if we get up to 150 again, the Japanese will be screaming and shouting, and either the market will react and do that anyway, or we'll get the intervention move. Either way, it's a big drop. So both good opportunities. The CAD will get dragged down with the US dollar, and obviously the CAD is weak at the moment anyway because of that slight weakness we've got coming in on the oil at the moment. But we'll see. That might not even continue. Dow's not really moving very much at the minute. A little bit of upside. NASDAQ's long as well now. S&P is trying to break long as well, but a bit of resistance there. For ADR measurement, do you take the bottom stroke top of wick or only the body? Wick. We're measuring the average daily range. The wick is part of the range, yeah? Always measure from wicks. This is part of price movement. Yeah, if price moves down to there, that's the level it traded at. Just because it opened there or closed there, nothing to do with measurements. Afternoon, Marco. Pound US dollar going sideways all morning? Yeah. Nothing on the pound US. Total mess. Total mess. Total mess, pound US. Stuck. Horrible pair. Not interested. Don't like it anymore. We've fallen out. Anyone have any recommendations for a good position size calculator? Google. Morning XO.news. Morning Hamza. I've got whipped on the pre-market 5. 5-minute ranges are very tricky. You can make a lot of money out of them, but most of the time you'll get whipped. Okay, Dow's coming back down again. We don't seem to know where we want to go at the moment. CAD Swiss was a mess. Still is. Well, depends what you class as a mess. It's extended. Very nice reversal alert this morning. So this is the first proper reversal alert we've had that's held this morning and retested. So there's your reversal alert and your retest. The first one we've had that has actually held and pushed down. It's pushing back up again at the moment, though, at the open. So we'll see if it holds, but that's the first real nice tight move we've had that's kicked off. So we'll see. Oil's rallied back up again, though, so the Canadian dollar might get a little bit of a rally off the back of that. Swiss franc is weak. As you can see, everything's pushing up against the Swiss franc at the moment. So this is a really weak Swiss franc we've got at the minute, which is what this rally is. So we'll see. There's not a lot of faith in the Swiss after that. Yeah, they've really screwed the market there with that 1.75. They should have gone to 2. They didn't. They didn't tell us about it. They never do. But this is what happens when you surprise the market. Get stung. Nothing much you can do with the Swissy at the minute. It will come back. We need, if that intervention happens on the yen, the Swissy will pump like crazy. So, and there's very high probability of that happening. Suzuki this morning, again, stating, we need you to stop pushing this. If you don't, we will. Basically, they don't mess about. They're very well known, the Japanese, for saying a lot and not doing a lot. But eventually they do. They have to. They will. Just a case of waiting and seeing when it's going to happen, really. Right, well, this market's really looking a bit tired so far. We haven't got any movement, really, from the opening range. So long break on the Dow's looking good. Long break on the S&P is an inside bar still. I'm hedged on the NASDAQ, but if you've taken the 5-minute ORB on the NASDAQ, you are long only. But we haven't gone anywhere for 15 minutes. I've got a feeling we're hanging around for the news by the looks of things. We'll see. So let's have a look at the FX pairs while we're waiting for that to move. As he says that, the Dow rallies. Okay, we've got some movement on the Dow now. And the S&P is following suit. The NASDAQ will also go. If the S&P is going, the NASDAQ will go with it. If it goes. So we just about got a higher high and a higher low on the the S&P, sorry. Outside bar formation on the Dow, but closing very bullish. 5 seconds to go. So there's a nice bullish close on the Dow. Hopefully we'll just get a little pop up into target on that. S&P still got a long way to go. Really heavy the NASDAQ. I saw something about Apple shares this morning fly past. Where was that? I could have sworn I saw something fly past about Apple shares this morning. Maybe I was seeing things. Apple supplier Pegatron's Indian factory will remain shut for the 3rd day after a weekend fire. So I'm not quite sure what Pegatron do for Apple. Oh, they own Asus. Okay. Big company. Okay, so yeah, that might have an impact on the NASDAQ independent of the S&P today because obviously the NASDAQ, Apple make up a lot of the share percentage of NASDAQ. So we might find that Apple shares drop today. And if Apple shares drop, all of the semiconductor suppliers for Apple will drop, which will hold the NASDAQ back. The S&P and the Dow will run independently of it because obviously it's being affected by Apple rather than anything else. So might see that a little bit heavier today than the S&P, but we'll see. Right, let's have a look at the FX side. So RSIs, there's not a lot to look at today. So fairly short and easy session today. Aussie New Zealand 4-hour RSI extension. That's got a little bit embedded over the last sort of day or so. Big drop. So anything you're getting into Aussie wise, you need to bear in mind CPI is coming out tomorrow. So the CPI estimate for tomorrow is a 5.2. If we don't get that 5.2, we're going to see a drop in the Aussie and a drop in the New Zealand dollar. So this will be very dependent on what that figure is. We were expecting an increase on the pound last week. We didn't get it. We got a decrease below the previous level. If that happens, the same thing as has happened to the pound is going to happen. The Aussie dollar is going to come down very hard. So this is nicely extended. Jesus. Stuck. Doesn't look like we're making longs today. Big sell just coming across all the markets. See what happens. So yeah, so Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, obviously we've had a big sell-off. Depending on what the news is tomorrow, we could well just get a continuation down. But because this is the Aussie New Zealand, you'll find that on news for Aussie or New Zealand, you tend to get quite a lot of sideways movement on the news events because they will drive each other. And obviously, if they both suddenly go long or both go short at the same time, the Aussie New Zealand is the one that goes sideways. So very nice extension on this at the moment. You can see how range bound we are. We've been range bound since June. We are in this range. We haven't got out of it. The range has contracted during August, and now we've pushed back down out of there. So we're looking for a push down into these monthly lows, which is ADR today. That would be ideal. If we can get down to ADR, that would be a lovely long. Get extended beyond there, drop down M15 or M5, take a reversal alert. We just had one kick in on M15. But if you got one down here, obviously you've got a much bigger push to the upside available to you. But looks good for longs. It's very extended. If that reversal alert doesn't hold, get into a second down there and then wait for a profit take move on that leg. There's no reason why any of these two should be more bullish or bearish than the other. So there's no reason really why we shouldn't just stay in that range. If you look at the fundamentals for both of those two, Aussie and New Zealand, when it loads, the Aussie dollar inflation figure sitting at 6, dropped by 1%. the New Zealand dollar sitting at 6, dropped by 0.7%. Very little in it at all. So from an inflation perspective, they're both neutral. The unemployment figures on both 3.7, 3.6 gone up, stayed sideways, very much the same. The interest rates, however, the Aussies have got a lot more room to move. So if that inflation figure does come up, that will be bullish Australian dollar because it will give them more of an opportunity to increase their interest rates. So tomorrow's CPI, if it comes out as expected or higher than expected, especially if it comes out as higher than expected, that might shift the bias long on Aussie New Zealand, in which case, obviously, you're perfectly positioned right now to get into long positions. And we could well see a break above that resistance up into this old high back from June. So it looks good for a long Aussie New Zealand. Pound CAD extended to the downside. This thing's exhausted. All the pound pairs are just shot to death, aren't they? I mean, the pound has had an absolute mare. We haven't had a profit take move on this. When you talk about, I said this morning in the live room as well, talk about parabolic moves. This is about as parabolic as it gets. Absolutely exhausted. We've been embedded down here on the RSI for nearly 2 weeks. So absolutely huge move to the upside on the cards. Stick a fib on that. You're looking at something like a 38 retracement or a 50 retracement. Easily, you should get one of those two, assuming we are still going to be bearish US and we're going to be bullish on the CAD. We haven't had any other news really to say either or on these two at the moment. If you look at the news this week, there's no pound news coming up. The only CAD news we've got is the GDP figure, which, you know, GDP is kind of a byproduct of inflation and interest rates, so doesn't have a massive impact at the moment with what we're doing with inflation and interest rates. But we've got US dollar news coming up, which will strengthen and weaken the CAD as well. But that is starting to look like it's ticking up again on the 4 hour. We've had a couple of instances where it's started to tick up as well. Yeah. And each of those has literally just turned into a flag break short. So could be. But if you look at the distances, yeah. So if you measure that distance there, that distance there, that distance there, you'll probably find they're very similar. That is quite a short distance for a tick up. So this could be the start of a structure break back up to the upside. You can't sell and buy something forever. You need to get out of it. So this could be it. But we've been much more extended on the 4 hour than this. So, you know, you will have been in it from there where I'm in it at the moment. So yeah, just waiting for a push back up. Pound New Zealand, massively extended. Again, same thing, pretty much massively extended and embedded. Good position to go long. Pound US dollar, I've been long on it forever. So all of these basically really big parabolic moves to the downside. You know, these sorts of moves are rare to get moves this fast and this hard, especially during summer trading and coming out of summer trading. It's not normal at all, as you can see. It just doesn't tend to happen like this. So we will be getting a profit take move on this, but it could well just be a shallow 38 retracement. Any profit take move will be fine. It will get you out. It's just we're waiting for a catalyst. There's just no catalyst at the moment. So I'm hoping really for an Aussie dollar drop tomorrow on CPI. That will weaken the New Zealand and pump this one back up again. If the pound starts pumping against other currencies, we might get some flow through. But yeah, very difficult at the moment with these pounds. New Zealand dollar Swiss extended to the upside. Again, Swiss franc very weak off the back of the interest rate decline that they had, where they weren't forecast for it. So first entry on that was last week. Second entry taken this week. Just looking for a normal pullback into propulsion on that one. So that is good. Nice and extended on the 4 hour. There's no hourly extensions today or this afternoon. US dollar Swiss, again, nicely extended. All these Swiss francs, yeah. So all the Swiss francs are going to be extended because of the interest rate decision. So they didn't go to 2, they went to 1.75, which immediately weakened it. We're waiting for a catalyst to kick the Swiss franc back in, but the Swissy will kick in regardless. It will just go. It will suddenly just power up, and you'll see bang, ADR 150 ADR or a couple of good ADR days in a row. It just does that. Money flows into the Swiss when we need a safe haven, and at the moment we don't, but we will do at some point, especially if that yen intervention comes. So Right, hedged on the S&P. Dow is just pulled back. NASDAQ's dropped out the floor. So NASDAQ, we are tapping straight into yesterday's low. So downside on the NAS, we are there. Yesterday's low. So we'll see if this holds. We should see some limit order triggers. It looks like the limit orders are triggering here. So this could be a good out for the NASDAQ. Failing that, we're looking at ADR, which is last month's low. And ADR, I believe, will be my target. So I'm just moving target up to ADR. Whoops. Just above ADR, rather. Yeah. We're going to get a bounce there. So yesterday's low, where we are now, is either going to hold or it's going to pop. Looks like they're driving through it. We haven't even had the news yet. We've got 5 minutes to the news. So we'll see if they hold that low. The Dow is holding up okay. S&P's just broken to the downside. So S&P downside target today. Kind of where we are at the moment, isn't it? Then we've got that other level, which is 150 ADR, which is 42.61. So 42.78. So I'm well within that second support area. So we'll see where we go. We may buy up this low. We've just seen a propulsion gap here. So this is this propulsion move here. We tested. They bought it again. So we'll see if they buy it again here. I might, depending on what happens on the news, exit the shorts if this looks like it's acting as support. So just going to watch all three of these and just see if we get support here. So limit orders are triggering. Buyers are buying up yesterday's low. See how we get on there. I love getting stopped out the market rally after. My favorite thing in the world. Yes. Afternoon, Kennelly. Afternoon, Mac. So let's see how we go. We've got 3 minutes to the news. Has anybody got any other pairs they want to look at or anything else? I've covered all the analysis today, so everything's done RSIs. There's only one ADR. We haven't gone anywhere today. So oil didn't get the retracement this morning. We're looking for a retracement back into this accumulation. And then reversal out of that. Or a push down into the monthly high, which is roughly the 50 retracement, but that's 200 ADR, which is unlikely we're going to hit that. We'd need some oil inventories or something to kick oil into touch. How is the ADR set file doing? I don't know. Haven't had a look. I'd imagine it's in something like 30% of drawdown. Something hideous because it's CAD Swiss. The problem with the ADR set file is, as you can see here, you get in on an ADR extension, not on an RSI extension. So you could be down here on RSI and get an ADR hit. And if that is the start of a move, you get a big drawdown. Yeah. This is why I trade H1M5 and I don't trade hedging. I don't trade ADR reversals. ADR reversals are great scalping strategies, really good for stop losses or for scaling into multiple entries intraday. But for position trading, they will do very, very well in a range, but in a trend or a squeeze, they won't do well at all. But everything's got a downside. So, you know, if you leave everything unattended in position trading, you're going to go into big drawdown. So I'd imagine it's in probably a good 20, 30% maybe. Might not even be that high. Might be 20. We'll have a look. So ADRs, yeah, 31%. Look. It's CAD Swiss, all of it, 20%. Well, not all of it, 20% of it CAD Swiss. Look. But equally, that new home sales, consumer confidence, 105 off of a 106, that's negative US. So equally, that will be gone on a 1.5 ADR push, and it'll be over there. So, but if you don't intervene, you'll see this in the strategy. If you put the market reverse alerts here in the strategy tester and run it long enough on enough pairs, you'll find a squeeze like that always. It will get out of it. It's no problem. It just obviously will take a lot of drawdown. Pain. So that hasn't had a lot of impact, Euro US. Little bit of a spike up, so a little bit negative. So that is negative US. Home sales are down as well, but their building permits is the one that's important, not the home sales. So consumer confidence, as I say, it's a little hit and miss. So it is negative US, which will help with the CAD Swiss as well. I'll bring the CAD down. Not a lot of movement off of it. So not a lot of movement off the indices either. A little bit of a whipsaw, a little bit of a spike, but not really moving. Okay, so we've broken yesterday's low. We've broken the pre-market low on the S&P, just coming down into yesterday's low on that now. So I suspect we might start a bit of a rally short. So the question is, do I want to get out of the Dow or hold it? I might hold on to the Dow in case this goes into rotation, because if this does, then this will probably manage to get a leg up. But we'll see. Another whippy open, basically. Who's in here? Who's in here? So we were talking in the Telegram group about somebody mentioned that Tom Hugard had another nightmare this morning, lost 40 grand. And we were talking about basically, you know, it's just part of trading having losing days, and you've got to put it into perspective when you're looking at what's happening in certain market conditions. At the moment, we've got market conditions which are just bizarre and not what we normally experience. And everybody that trades a normal strategy that works in whatever market condition they are used to trading in. So everybody has an edge, everybody has a good time frame they like, everybody has a strategy that works for them on a regular basis. No strategy is ever going to hold up long term. It's going to have points where it's just not going to work because the market conditions are wrong. The market will act more irrationally and push further and harder for longer than you will ever be able to predict. So when you get things which start to go wrong, it's just part of your system or strategy. And if you run a back test on any strategy in this strategy tester, you will always see a flat period. Yeah. And you will always see a period of losses. So if we look at something like the opening range breakout, EA, when the website loads, and look at back tests, yeah. So if you look at some of the back tests that have been done in this, yeah, they're always all profitable. So what your job is to determine, does your strategy have an edge? Does it have a long-term edge? Yeah. That's the job, right? Make money. Yeah. So when you look at a strategy, overall, you want a positive figure at the end of any back test. And then you want to run a system parameter permutation test around that strategy to see if I'd not used a TP of 100 and I'd used 110, 20, 30, 40, 50, would I have still made money? And if I'd have used 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, would I have still made money? And test all the different parameter permutations you can in the strategy. If they all come out as profitable, you know there's an edge in the strategy, because it doesn't matter what you'd have used, whether you'd have pressed the exit button there, or there, whether you've had a trailing stop that worked there, or there, they all work. Yeah. So that's the idea of a strategy. And when you're testing and wanting to trade a strategy, you need to make sure it works long term. Every strategy will have a stagnation period where it doesn't make money. Every strategy will have a downturn where it makes a loss, and a big loss, and a continued loss. Yeah. Because no strategy can stand the same market, can stand changing market conditions. Yeah. If you're running a breakout strategy, it's not going to work in a range. If you're running a mean reversion strategy, it's not going to work in a trend. If you're running a mean reversion strategy, it's not going to work when there's a breakout or a trend. Yeah. So there isn't a strategy that can adapt itself to different market conditions. It doesn't exist, because it's a strategy is mean reversion, breakout, or trend. There's only 3 ways to trade the market. So when we're looking at, people saying somebody's lost loads of money, yeah, that's part of the job. Yeah. When you're running a business, your business has periods where it makes a fortune. It has periods where it doesn't work. Do you think the business goes, I'm going to shut because I haven't made much this month? No, just sits through it and waits for the next period of profit. Yeah. And that's just normal. So, Tom had a nightmare. Every single trade he took just went back the other way. And as I was explaining in the Telegram group, the reason for that is because every single one of these candles you see on the chart has absolutely no bearing on what is going to happen next. This looked like it was going bullish 10 minutes ago. Now it looks like it's going bearish. Where's it going next? Flip a coin. Could end up here, could end up here. I don't know. You don't know. The banks don't know, because it depends on how many buyers and sellers are sitting at that level right now as to whether this goes bullish or bearish. And the only people that can decide that are the central banks. Just part of the job. So, like Outro saying, oh, I love being whipsawed, it's horrible. Yeah, horrible. But equally, do you love it when every single break goes to 5R? When we sit here every now and again and the NASDAQ goes to 5R, the Dow goes to 5R, the S&P goes to 5R, and that morning the DAX went to 5R. I sit here going, Jesus Christ, that was only 15 grand. That was easy, wasn't it? Nobody says anything about the good days, but every time there's a bad day, it's like, oh, he's had a bad day. That's part of the course. It's the same as reviews, isn't it? Yeah, if you think about it, when you're looking at reviews, everybody immediately goes and sorts it by the negative reviews. What's bad about this? What about the 97% positive reviews? I just want to look at the 3% bad ones. That's just human nature. That's what we do. Just normal. So don't worry about it. Yeah, if you're having bad days, having bad weeks, having bad months, next day, next week, next month is a new one. And you've got to be able to wipe this off. This is why I said yesterday, we did the session yesterday when we were talking about the CAD Swiss. And will I be looking to make back the losses that I've made? No, because I've made those losses. They are part of my P&L and they're in the history. What I'm interested in now is my average is here, and where do I think the price is going from now? This is done. There's nothing I can do about this. And if I start chasing this loss, I will just get myself into trouble. Chasing losses is one of the biggest things that kills traders, because if you've got a loss of 5% on your account, your focus is purely on making 5% to get yourself back to break even. That trade that goes down to there and makes 25%, you get out at 5% because all you want is your money back. Doesn't work. That's not a long-term edge. Have you tested whether it's right or wrong to get out with whatever you've lost? If you do, you'll find that your P&L just goes like that. Can't do it. Interesting, though, how we pick up on negatives all the time. And just one of those things. But like I said in Telegram, I bet Tom gets it back this afternoon, because he will reset, refocus, just get on with the job, because his edge has been there for X number of years and it will still be there for X number of years in the future. But during that P&L, there's going to be one of them. That's what happened to him this morning. That's what happened to this strategy there. That's what happened to this strategy there and there. And then what happened? Bang, bang, bang. We lost. We won. We lost. We won. We lost. We won. We lost. We won. We lost. As long as your winners are bigger than your losers, you have an edge. That's exactly what the opening range breakout strategy is. It's an edge. It's never, ever, ever going to win. And again, like I said this morning, You flip a coin 10 times. It can come out as tails 10 times. If a tail is a losing trade, on a 50-50 shot, which is what a flip of a coin is, you can have 10 losing trades in a row. What's the next 10 going to be? Could be losers as well. They could also be winners. And as long as those winners are 2-1 and the losers are 1-1, profit. Just the way it goes. But losing days, part of the job, unfortunately. Days, weeks, months, whatever you want to, however you want to measure it. Dow short. Yeah, short trigger on the Dow. That's me at the moment. Every trade is either break even or stop loss. Got to laugh it off or you'll cry. Yeah. You don't need to laugh it. You don't need to laugh. You don't need to cry. You need to accept. This is the thing that stops successful traders. And again, what I said in the Telegram group this morning, the people that sit through days like this, I'm hedged now on 3 instruments. I've guaranteed to lock in a $3,000 loss today. I've banked $1,500 today. So right now, the only outcome is a $1,500 loss. I can change that by trading in a minute when I see what's going on with price action. But right now is a $1,500 loss. So what? It happens. I know it happens because I've proven it happens to myself. I've shown myself many times that it happens. We make losses. Just one of those things. But you just have to accept it. The people that will not make it in this industry are the people that go, opening range breakout strategy doesn't work because today it's just made loss. And yesterday it made a loss. It didn't actually, it made a win. But, you know, say, for example, it has 3 losing days in a trot. What do? Dump it. Move on to the next thing. You're going to dump and move on and dump and move on until you find the thing that makes you profit every day. Good luck. I've been searching for 15 years. It doesn't exist. You're not going to find it because there's no way you're going to make a strategy work every day. Just impossible. Random. This thing's random. It's going down at the moment. Where's it going to be in half an hour? We could do it right now in here. We could flip a coin. I could ask 10 people in here now if this is going to be above or below the price we're at now. Yeah. Some of you will get it right. Some of you will get it wrong, which is the difference between making a profit and making a loss. But what's going to decide whether you make a profit or a loss? The market, not you, not your strategy. There is no strategy here. It's breaking short. What should you do? Sell it now. What's going to happen in 20 minutes when you get out? I don't know. Neither do you. So if you get in now with a short and make your stop loss there and it moves further than your stop loss, well done. If it stops you out, well done. That's the only decision you have to make. It's binary. You hit that button or you hit that button. When you exit is the reason you make money, not because of your strategy. Statement from the tester doesn't work. Anyone knows who's a little bit smart? I mean, the statement from the tester doesn't work. Don't know what you mean. Just a good way of dealing with it. Make a joke about it. Yeah. Move on. Yeah, exactly. Turn up the next day and carry on as usual. Imagine quitting your job every time you had a bad day. Exactly, Hamza. Good analogy. But that's what people do, isn't it? Oh, I've blown an account. I'm not using that strategy anymore. I'll put money into another account and blow that one. Yeah. But people do that, don't they? I mean, think about when you were young. You probably are young. But how many times have you gone through, how many different jobs do you have when you're young? Why? Because you try something, you don't like it. You try something, you don't like it. You try something, you don't like it. The difference is it doesn't cost you money to try these things. This costs you money. Every time you try something, it costs you money. Why you need to back test and then forward test. And if it works in the forward test like it did in the back test, you got half a chance. At least you know what to expect. Yeah. Drawdown, your maximum drawdown. So when you look in here and look at your maximum drawdown, yeah, I know for a fact I'm expecting there to be a 10% drawdown on the account. So if I've got an account that's sitting at 150K, I'm fully expecting a 15K loss. Normal. That's normal. It's normal to get a 15K loss. Why? Because I proved it happens over and over again. Yeah. But when it happens, immediately it doesn't work. Not real world, is it? Dow, we're short on everything. big sell-off underway. So the market didn't like that. Oh, hang on a minute. The Fed's talking. So this isn't consumer confidence. This is Kashkari. I put a 60% probability on a soft landing. That's bullish US. Put a 40% probability on a scenario where the Fed will have to raise rates significantly higher to beat inflation, which is bearish. So it's just rallying the US dollar. There she goes. Thinking about it. Chart's not updating, but US dollar's rallying. So obviously bullish US equals bearish index. So this is basically them rallying the market. That was 15:08. That was 8 minutes ago. Wonder if they finished talking. Looks like it. So again, just reinforcing the fact that the Fed does not want to go above 5.5. They want this to be the terminal rate if they can possibly imagine it to happen. That is what it wants to be. They're not far away. Unfortunately, though, inflation has started to tick up again. So the interest rate, that's what they want. 5.5 is a terminal. Right. So approaching that monthly support on the NASDAQ. Let's go above the monthly support on the Dow as well. That is also beyond ADR. So there's ADR on the Dow. So my TP is beyond ADR today. There's ADR low, which coincides with that monthly low on the NASDAQ. That would be a good bounce point. Going down quite hard though. No more, doesn't look like there's any more news coming out. So that might be the end of that rally. So we'll see how far that goes. Doesn't seem to be a massive uptick on the US dollar, I have to say. Euro US dollar come down a little bit, but that's not really collapsing anywhere near as much as these indices are. These are really on the move, aren't they? Canadian dollar's not rallying much either. No. I'd say this is probably going to peter out in a minute, this drop. Eyes on the yen. A lot. Little bit of strength coming through on the yen. Nothing particularly exciting. Just one big candle, but hopefully we get that yen strength today. You can tell by the US dollar yen. Yeah, we just had a little bit of a rally on the US dollar on that news. It's coming down against the yen. So that yen has got more coming into it than the US at the moment. Watching these levels. See yous in the morning. Okay, off you go, outro. I hope you're still short on these. Okay, so we're approaching support. So anywhere down here, we could find limit orders trigger on this NASDAQ. So doesn't have to obviously hit it. You know, support is an area. It's not a level. It's somewhere around here. You're going to find limit order triggers. So we'll see if we've got enough strength to push through them. At the moment, it looks like it wants to carry on going a bit further. So starting to stall out a little bit. So these are our Bs today, basically. I'm just looking for a target hit, and then I'll be looking to get out of the longs. This hedge version of the opening range breakout EA is still under development, but I'm thinking about just sticking this out there if people want it, because I don't think I'm going to develop it anymore. It kind of does what it does. So I don't really want to put it out there with a load of backtest history and stuff. There's tons and tons and tons of backtests I've done on this, and they're all profitable. All making money, basically. But yeah, right, whatever. So yeah, 70% of the system parameter permutation tests I've done on the DAX are profitable. So 70% of all variations of the strategy with all different ranges, all different stop losses, all different trailers, all different loss recovery targets, all profitable. So these are all, you know, it's got a similar edge as you would expect. It's got a very similar edge to the opening range breakout strategy, the standard opening range breakout without the hedge. So there's not really, I don't think, a big advantage financially in this version of the strategy, which is what I wanted to do the testing for. But there is an ease of trade, I think, edge with this, which you don't get with the traditional opening range breakout strategy, and that is that you don't obviously get stopped out multiple times. So as long as you're not using stupid risk, you get an opportunity to exit the positions that don't work. So the long obviously triggered, then we went short. I haven't taken any loss yet. I'm still in the trade. So if this pushes down to 5R and hits my target, as long as it pulls back by that distance, I can exit that long with no loss and walk away with a win. So there's a big advantage for the hedge, but it's not something you can do mechanically. So it's something that I think everybody, if they want to use this version of the strategy, you're going to have to read price action, and you're going to have to not rely on back tests, because the back tests will work. I mean, it will do what it did in the back tests. Obviously, it will work. Basically, it's 30. I can't remember what the percentage was. The opening range breakout is successful. 30. Whoops, wrong one. 32% of the time. So 33% of the time, you get a clean break. Yeah, this is only the DAX. I haven't tested it on the others, but it's pretty much the same. So 33% of the time with the opening range breakout strategy, you'll get a clean break and it'll just go and hit target and you're done. That's it. So 1 in 3 days, yeah, once or twice a week, you'll get a clean break, happy days, everybody wins. Yeah. Another 30-ish%, you'll get hedged into a loss that won't move far enough. So basic to get you into a target. So basically a rotation day. So a third of the time you will go into rotation. These are the days where you can make extra money, because you'll be able to identify support and resistance levels, which are daily and weekly levels, that we will get bounces from. The EA doesn't do that. What the EA does is just adjust to TP2, which is roughly an ADR, and gets out. Those are the aggressive attempt days, which work around about 30% of the time. So what it's basically doing is it's giving you an edge, which is 64%. 64% of the time, the trade will work. The risk reward is always a minimum of 1.5 to 2R or more, because what we do is we set a target at 2R, we put a trailer on at 1R. This is what this test is. This is what I've tested, which gives you a 1.5R. If you hit target, it pulls back and it stops you out on the second entry. That's a 1.5R return. So 64% of the time you get 1.5R return, which is why the edge is there. So if you get a 1-to-1 and you get a 51% strike rate, that's a profitable strategy. With a 1.5R return, you don't need a 50% strike rate to make money. This, although, has a 64%. So it's these days here which will determine how much more profitable you become. And these are the ones that are like today, with all three of these, where you're looking at it and you're having to go, right, okay, do I leave this to go all the way down to there? Or do I decide to now get out here of my shorts and hope that it pops up? Obviously, the downside to that is if you get out of those shorts and it drops, you're going to make more loss than you would. So that's where the woolliness, if you like, comes into the strategy. So, but yeah, it's got 64% edge, the hedging version, which is not dissimilar to the opening range breakout strategy, which is the normal EA that is out there already. The edge is similar, which is why the return is similar. Did you get any chance to see the strategy I sent you? No, not yet. I haven't had a chance. Easy. It's in my inbox. It's in my inbox. So what I do every morning is I look in my inbox and I delete all the crap and I leave the stuff I'm going to look at. The trouble is, me getting around to looking at stuff is not a 5-minute job. So it's in there. I will be looking at it. I've just got I've got some tweaks I'm making on this hedge version of the ORB EA that I'm testing at the moment, which is kind of takes a few hours to test. So I haven't got around to it yet, but I will look at it. So I just need to quickly check something. Right. Sorry about that. Needed to quickly check something. I just realized who that phone number was and I just needed to check something, which I've checked. Right, so yeah, we're pulling up from the lows. So this is either going to be a reversal point or it's just going to be a pullback new leg. So we'll see what happens here as to whether or not we're going to push up or push back down again. So this could well just go into rotation from here. So this is the, as I say, this is the decisions you need to make basically. So I could close this out now, take that profit on the short and hope that we push up into there and exit and make a win. The danger with that is if I get out of the short here and then this candle pulls down and we go down for another leg, you're stuck in a long and you're getting further and further and further into drawdown on that long, which is not ideal, obviously. So my experience and my back testing has shown that it's just better to leave it and hope that it gets down to a decent ADR move, a bigger run, because there's much more probability when you get down to ADR of that pullback starting, and you need a good level for it to start at. Yeah, so there's no reason for this here. There is a reason for ADR today, which is a monthly low, for example. So you're just using confluence basically to decide whether or not to go long or to get out or not. But DAX is rallying back up as well. So there's obviously sector purchasing going on at the moment. So when all the indices move in the same direction, it's usually a sector purchase. So they'll be buying up the motor industry, buying up the tech industry, buying up whatever. And those stocks will appear in all indexes, which is why you get the same movement across all indexes. No more ADRs today. That US dollar isn't moving much. So Euro US dollar, obviously a good gauge of the Dixie. It's the inverse to the Dixie. So there's that news. Not gone anywhere since the news, since Kazakh opened his mouth. Sorry, Kashkari opened his mouth. So yeah, not a lot of movement there. And nothing on the consumer confidence. So that's not moved the market either. So no news left for the day. So we'll just see what happens in normal price action today. See where we go. I haven't got anything else to discuss today, really. FX market is pretty flat. Obviously, we can see we've had decent breakouts to the downside on these, but I'm locked in with a hedge. I'm just going to hold this hedge just to see if we get a second leg. So what I'm hoping for today, and my plan today, is for market structure to go short out of these propulsion gaps, which we're already in on the Dow. So pushing up propulsion gap short, so adding to those short positions they made that leg with, and then hit targets to the downside. And as soon as we hit those targets to the downside, I'll try and get out on pullback, which will obviously mean the market will be much more extended and much more likely to pull back from those levels. So if it just flip-flops around here or pushes back up into this area or just does something like that today, not a lot I can do with it. So I'll just hedge in those losses, which will make a minus $1,500 day, which at the end of the day, neither here or there, is it? 1.5%. So not the end of the world, but we'll see. Dow's pushing down again. Look. So I'll update in Telegram what happens with these. I'll post these later on today when they've played out, if and when they've played out. But that's the plan. So if nobody's got anything else I want to look at, I will leave you there. Tomorrow, obviously, Australian dollar. So overnight, we've got the Aussie dollar. So if you've got any Aussie dollar exposure on or any New Zealand dollar exposure on, if you've got profit, you may want to take it. If you've got anything in profit, you might want to protect it. But we've got big moves potentially tomorrow morning on the Aussie. So if you look at last week's pound, pretty much what we were expecting on the pound last week with our CPI, we were expecting to go up to 7 from 6.8. What we actually got delivered was a 6.7, which was a 0.1% negative drop after we were forecasting an increase. They are forecasting an increase of 0.3. So if we get an as previous, a 4.9, or we get anything less than that 5.2, there's a potential for a big drop on the Aussie. If we get a negative coming out below 4.9, so if we get a 4.8 or less, that Aussie is going to come down hard. So will the New Zealand dollar. But equally, obviously, if we get above that, we'll probably get a push. So keep your eyes peeled on that. Well, I'll be asleep, but any Aussie exposure you've got on, just be aware that we might have some ADR hits on that overnight. And if you wake up in the morning and you see stuff sitting at 125 ADR or so on the Aussie, don't just jump in and short it. There's a reason it's there, because the figure has probably made that happen, and it will probably just pull back and continue throughout the London and New York session. So just be aware of that. Other than that, no other news tomorrow. So we're waiting after the CPI figure. Tomorrow is just business as usual, and then we run into the euro rates on Thursday. So, all right. So that's it for today. Oh, oil's just hit ADR. Just before I go, ADR hit to the upside on oil. So that will be rallying the CAD. Not a lot, but a little bit. So oil ADR. Again, we're looking for oil to rally. So it's double bottomed. Look at that. So we double bottomed out of this propulsion gap. Look, they bought it there. They bought it there out of that propulsion. And then they've bought it again out of this one. So it doesn't look like they want to let this go, does it? But we are in structure short still. Yeah, so lower high down. So we're still potentially just pulling back for another leg. Don't forget, this is part of an up leg. So the retracement on it is coming back down into here or into here. Somewhere there is where we're looking for a retracement. So this is just moving down into this area, potentially. Who knows? But obviously, we looked at this morning, didn't we, at the double bottom, at that reversal alert, and said that's probably a decent potential long. Should have taken it, but didn't. Anyway, if we'd have known it was going up, we would have done. Right, I'll leave it there. Anything you need, let me know. I'll be in Telegram. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7:50, same time for the Frankfurt session, and 2:20 tomorrow afternoon for New York to trade the New York indices as well. And I'll monitor these and I'll post in the Telegram group what I'm going to do with these, but I think we might have a little bit more down. So I'm going to hold them short and then see if we get out. All right, have a good day. Anything you need, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow. See you then.